Hi, I'm Angela Tinder, and this is the intro for my agency training project for Social Work 542. So for my trauma-informed program assessment, I reviewed and evaluated New York State's Family Assessment Response Program, which is New York State's differential response in child protective services. And I found that FAR does very well when it's evaluated based on the trauma-informed care principles. But of course, there's always room for improvement. So one of the concerns that I have about FAR and about child protective services in general is based on New York State Social Services Law, Section 413, which is the piece of social services law that prohibits child protective services from revealing the identity of a source of a child protective service report. So this is an area where there's an obvious lack of transparency in the system, and I believe that that lack of transparency creates trauma and exacerbates families' kind of existing fear of child protective services. I also think that this is a human rights issue. If you look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 11, you'll see that we're all entitled to all of the information that we need to build a comprehensive defense whenever someone has made an allegation against us. Obviously, if you aren't entitled to know the identity of your accuser, that limits your ability to build a comprehensive defense against allegations. This is also, as you might be thinking, potentially a civil rights issue, because there's no due process that guarantees child welfare recipients the right to confront their accuser. So to address my concerns about the lack of transparency in this area of child welfare services, I developed a Prezi, and this is a Prezi that kind of briefly reviews what psychological trauma is. It introduces the principles of trauma-informed care, and then it goes on to speak directly to mandated reporters about how they can apply the principles of trauma-informed care in their work. So it's intended to be used at agency staff meetings and in services. I imagine a child protective services caseworker or supervisor taking this Prezi out to community agencies, maybe a mental health agency or a community action agency or a Head Start, and sitting with a group of staff, the people who are mandated reporters at the agency, and sharing the Prezi. So it's intended to be a presentation that the presenter would click through as they're talking, and they could pause and go back, stop to tell stories or listen to questions. Obviously, I can't do that with you here right now, so my solution to that was I was going to record my narrative over the Prezi. Well, those of you who have used Prezi before, I have not used Prezi before. This is my first Prezi. But those of you who have used Prezi before, you might be aware that there doesn't seem to be any Prezi doesn't seem to have any ability to record narration. So I got my Prezi all done and went back to record the narrative and couldn't figure out how to do it. So in this discussion board thread, you'll see there's two links. One is a link directly to the Prezi that I developed. And I would ask that you would go there and flip through it and look at it and see how it flows and what it looks like. The second link is a link to a YouTube video where through some technical wizardry I was able to record like a screenshot video of the Prezi and then move it into Movie Maker and record and add my narrative over it. Now that was a lot more difficult than it sounds, and it didn't work exactly the way I hoped that it would. So there's some spots in it where the flow of the presentation doesn't move quite right. And there's also some spots where the narration doesn't match exactly. However, I'm still pretty proud of it because I really had to do a lot of troubleshooting to create that YouTube video. So I would like you to click on the YouTube video first and watch it. That's just to give you an idea of what it would be like to be a mandated reporter in a staff meeting sitting through this presentation. You hear my narration over it. It moves really quickly through what is psychological trauma, why do we need to be concerned about psychological trauma in child welfare services, and then it looks at each principle of trauma-informed care individually with tips for mandated reporters to help them apply those principles in their work. So After you're done with that, if you take a second, click on the Prezi link and flip through the Prezi, and you can see what it would look like if you were sitting in the staff meeting, and maybe imagine being able to pause it, to talk, being able to fully explain every point before the next point comes up, the way it would be in a staff meeting. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. Thank you for all of your comments and your feedback. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Please be honest with me, because I think that this is really a presentation that I might use in my work in child welfare in Allegheny County. So anything you can say that would make it better would really be helpful. And good luck to everybody else, and I'll see you later. Thanks.